Okay, we are starting today with the 36th sutra. I read these earlier today. I got started doing the reading. I had to stop, so we're just going to pick up and start again. I thought we would try this, the Constitution of Man chart. I believe there's going to be some really good places for us in this to correlate the two. So I'm going to put it over here, and we can so we can reference. All right. By meditation upon light and upon radiance, knowledge of the spirit can be reached, and thus peace can be achieved. The student should here note that each of the methods outlined above concerns certain centers. And these were the methods that we outlined, that were outlined in the 35th Sutra. And we can reference those there. There are 7 methods of attainment mentioned, and therefore we can infer that the 7 centers are involved. And our direction is up, right? And we have the 7 centers, and they're also related to the 7 rays, and also related to the centers and the planets. So this is all one. It's all one. So let's see here. And there are 7 methods of attainment mentioned, therefore we can infer this. This is a good hint. So whenever we see these numbers coming up, we can reference, we can know and make these correlations. So method 1 is refers to Sutra 33, and that's the solar plexus center. The peace in the chitta or mind stuff can be brought about through the practice of sympathy, tenderness, steadiness of purpose, and dispassion in regard to pleasure or pain, or towards all forms of good or evil. And the solar plexus chakra or center should be related to the mental plane, or at least the lower mental. Certainly that. All right. Method 2 is reference Sutra 34 to the center at the base of the spine. And the peace of the chitta is also brought about by the regulation of the prana. And the center at the base of the spine is known as the root chakra often, and that would be the lowest. And that's also, I believe I want to say it's also related to the spleen as well. Prana and the spleen are certainly go hand in hand. All right, so then method 3, Sutra 35, is related to the center between the eyebrows, which is also known as the ajna center. And I want to say that that would be related to the mind. The mind can be trained to steadiness through those forms of concentration which have relation to the sense perceptions. The ajna center, or the center between the eyebrows, is related to the father, and is related to is it illumination? The illuminating light. And we'll get into that in a little bit further down in this sutra, by the way. So this is a pretty stout sutra. And then method 4 is related to the head center, By meditation upon light and upon radiance, knowledge of the spirit can be reached, and thus peace can be achieved. And that's interesting. I want to say this is really, when you talk about, we might be talking about this higher plane, but I'm a little bit confused right now about how these are correlated. Because I would normally say this would be related to the crown, this would be related to the ajna, this would be related to the throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. But my thought is that spirit is really known here as well at will. So I guess that's technically, it is right here at the highest plane. So we'll see if it becomes any more clear here. Method 5, Sutra 37, is related to the sacral center. The chitta is stabilized and rendered free from illusion as the lower nature is purified and no longer indulged. And this is related to the sacral center, which would be the astral plane. And then we have 6 related to Sutra 38, which we're going to get into. Related to the throat center, peace, steadiness of the chitta can be reached through meditation on the knowledge which dreams give. Very interesting. And method 7, related to Sutra 39 in the heart center, which should be related to buddhi. Peace can also be reached through concentration upon that which is dearest to the heart. So if we're contemplating here, what is here, then we can bring about peace. Oh, very interesting. These should be carefully considered, even if no details of procedure can be given here, or here be given. Only the principle and the law involved can be considered by the student. It should be remembered also that all these centers have their correspondences in etheric matter found in the region of the head, and that is when these 7 head centers are awakened, that their counterparts are also safely awakened. These 7 head centers correspond in the microcosm to the 7 rishis of the Great Bear, the prototypes of the 7 heavenly men, and the centers above enumerated relate to the energy of the 7 heavenly men themselves. And let me see if we could take a quick field trip. I might have well, I guess I didn't keep that around. I was looking at this earlier on Makara, and guess that wasn't there. Okay, sorry about that. The 7 head centers are also related to the lower as well. I don't understand all of this fully by any stretch. It's all very deep. Michael Robbins does get into some of this. What we're doing now is absorbing it and waiting, and we're going to wait for the response essentially, so that assimilation of this and knowledge of it in our brain comes. It's very interesting, no doubt. The correlations are off the charts. There's just so many. It is not necessary to enlarge here upon these centers beyond indicating the following. The aspirant may regard each center symbolically as a lotus. This lotus is formed of energy units moving or vibrating in a specific manner, and these vibrations waves assume the forms we call the petals of the lotus. Each lotus consists of a certain number of petals, a pericarp or supporting calyx, which means something like a shell. I want to say like the shell that you'd find in the center, and then a center of pure white light called the jewel in the lotus. Each center corresponds to a sacred planet, the body of manifestation of one of the 7 heavenly men. Every center has to be developed through the use of the word. This word is the Om, the AUM, and it must appear in the vibrant center eventually. When it shines forth perfectly within the wheel, then that center has perfectly awakened. Certain of the qualities of the sun are the qualities of the centers. Everything's corresponding one to another. Let's see here. Let's take that field trip that I was talking about. I know I saw it when we did this. So this is what the egoic lotus looks like, and you can kind of see how this works. You have knowledge petals. The 1, 2, and 3 are knowledge. 4, 5, and 6 are the love petals. And then 7 is the sacrifice. These are the sacrifice petals that relate to those as well. And then these, if you can see, are going in, they're going counterclockwise now. So the first are going clockwise, then these are moving counterclockwise, and these are essentially 1, the last 3. So in that you have the 12, and I think, let's see where we're at. Yes, here. Let's talk about the certain qualities of the sun and the qualities of the centers. Quality of the solar plexus is warmth. Quality at the center of the base of the spine is kundalini, which is why we talked about kundalini rising. It's rising from the bottom up, obviously. So now we can actually depict that in a sense. The quality of the ajna center between the eyebrows is illuminating light. The head center is cold light. Cold light. The sacral center is moisture, which is related to the astral plane, which is also related to water. Remember stream entry, walking on water or over the waters, being submersed in the waters, drowning. All these things are very much related there. The throat center is related to red light. And the heart center is related to radiant or magnetic light. And that's what we're talking about here, radiant or magnetic light. And that's interesting because it's interesting because it's said at some point when we reach, we're being pulled up as well, right? So it's going both ways. In this sutra, meditation upon light and radiance is enjoined, and we learn that through this light and the ability to use it, knowledge of the spirit can be arrived at. Like I said, this is something that requires significant contemplation. At the center of the heart chakra dwells Brahma. Brahma being related to the Buddhic plane, really being related to radiant or magnetic light. And says the old scripture, he reveals himself in the light. The aspirant has therefore to become aware of the points of light within. Points of light within become aware of the wheel with 12 spokes. The wheel of 12 spokes is also the heart chakra, the heart center with its 12 petals, which anytime we talk about 12 can be related to the zodiac. So now being this is the constitution of man, we're looking at a relatively a miniature version of the zodiac. As we therefore become aware of the point of light within the wheel of 12 spokes. As that point of light is dwelt upon, it reveals a road which must be traveled should the aspirant seek to arrive at his goal. Well, we certainly at some point become aware of the road which must be traveled, reference immediately the zodiac, right? And then there are most certainly more implications in that. But the first thing which is revealed is darkness. This should be remembered in terms of Occidental mysticism. This brings about the dark night of the soul. We will not, however, dwell upon the mystical aspect as it is necessary for us to keep our conclusions as much as possible along the occult line. The truth as expressed in terms of Christian mysticism has been frequently and adequately covered. So just reference back up here real quick. We're on the 36th sutra. And it is, by meditation upon light and upon radiance, knowledge of the spirit can be reached, and thus peace can be achieved. And that's the 36th sutra. We're in it, we're talking about it, and we're also going to move on to the next. And by meditation upon these things, so we're talking about how peace can be achieved through the meditation on the knowledge which dreams give. In 38. So we're sitting here, we're going backwards and forwards while we're sitting in the middle of this one, which is an interesting place to be. And this lotus, we've all probably heard of the chakras at this point, and we can reference the chakras or the centers and see, you can reference the number of petals there as well. It's just so much. Well, let's go. We're going. We're and keep absorbing. They're talking about the clear, cold light here, and that would be at the top of the whole of this. It's just amazing stuff, man. I don't know. It's incredible. Okay. The cheetah is stabilized and rendered free from illusion as the lower nature is purified and no longer indulged. This translation is particularly free one, as the words used in the Sanskrit are somewhat difficult of exact interpretation. The thought conveyed is that as the organs of perception and as the sense contacts are continually negated by the real man, who no longer seeks to identify himself with them, then he becomes free from passion. Heat or desire for all objects is overcome. And where did we say that the warmth came from? The solar plexus, right? Solar plexus is correlated to warmth. And this is heat or desire for all objects is overcome. He stands then free from his lower sense nature. That would make sense, right? Because we're standing free from the lower three. This results in a corresponding mental stability and in an ability to concentrate. Assume at this point, this is above into the abstract levels of the mental plane, for the mind stuff is no longer subject to the modifications produced by sense reactions of any kind, either those we call good or those we call bad. It's just fallen away at that point. The mind stuff is no longer subject to these. These modifications produced by sense reactions have fallen below the threshold. This has been strongly advocated in many of the systems, and one of the methods suggested is constant meditation upon such great identities as Krishna, the Buddha, and the Christ, who have freed themselves from all sense reactions. This thought is brought out in some of the translations, but though indicated from one point of view, does not seem to be the main idea intended. Freedom from attachment is brought about as the fires of desire are overcome, and though the sacral center is depicted as having specific relation to the sex nature, yet that sex nature, as it expresses itself on the physical plane, is symbolic of any attachment between the soul and any object of desire other than the spirit. Okay, let's read this. Let's read this again. This is seems incredibly profound material that we're into right here. Freedom from attachment is brought about as the fires of desire are overcome. And though the sacral center is depicted as having specific relation to the sex nature. Yet that sex nature is symbolic of any attachment between the soul and any object of desire other than spirit. The soul, between the soul, it's symbolic of any attachment between the soul and any object of desire other than the spirit. Oh, this is some serious business we're into now. And guess what? There's no turning back. So we're going. So we will know, essentially, this is a tell. And this is something that we can know, pretty quickly in our own beingness, what we need to work on here. Because if we're still fueled, then we haven't transmuted that energy to the higher yet fully. So this is something that we need to work on, and is not, the good news is these things do drop away. So we'll get through this. Boy, is this some deep stuff. This is stuff that's not in the other books. This is a gem of its own here. The chitta is stabilized and rendered free from illusion as the lower nature is purified and no longer indulged. And this sutra is related to the sacral center, right, which is the astral plane. And this is where desire comes from. So then we're free to move up after that. And let's see what's next. What is it? Now we're moving it says to the throat center. So let's see how that plays in here. Peace can be reached through meditation on the knowledge which dreams give. The significant words in Sutra 38 are the phrase, the knowledge which dreams give. And in this connection, the commentary on Sutra 10 is of interest. The Oriental occultist uses the word dream in a much more technical sense than does the Westerner, and this must be fully grasped by the aspirant. Let's see for a second, though. We want to absorb this. We're not trying to figure it out, but we also don't want to be nilly-willy, right? I want to be as complete as possible with what we have to work with. That way, the next time we dig in, the understanding will be greater. So Sutra 10 is related to passivity, and passivity is sleep. So this one reference dreams, can be correlated to the one with sleep. Passivity or sleep is based upon the quiescent state of the virites, or upon the non-perception of the senses. Okay, let's keep. The Oriental occultist uses the word dream in a much more technical sense than does the Westerner. Now we're looking at, we are Occidental, and so we're looking at the Eastern take on this, basically. And this must be fully grasped by the aspirant. To the Oriental, the deepest dream condition is that in which the real man is sunk when in physical incarnation. Ruh-roh. What a perspective to take on that, right? The deepest dream condition is that in which the real man is sunk when in physical incarnation. So if that's the deepest, then what would a dream during the evening be? This corresponds to that dream state which we recognize as caused by the vibration of the cells of the physical brain. Chaos, lack of continuity, and ill-regulated eventualities are present, coupled with an ability or inability to recollect truly and accurately when awake. This condition is physical plane dreaming. Then there is the dream condition in which the man participates when immersed in sensuous perception of one kind or another, either pleasure or of pain. This is experienced in the astral or emotional body. The knowledge given by the physical plane condition is largely instinctual. That achieved through the astral dream condition is largely sensuous. One is racial and group realization, the other is relative to the not self and to man's relation to the not self. That achieves. Okay. So we have the knowledge given by the physical plane condition is largely instinctual. That achieved through the astral dream condition is largely sensuous. One is racial and group, the other is relative to them. There comes in again a higher state of dream consciousness in which a faculty of another kind comes into play, and this might be called the imagination, bringing its own form of knowledge. Imagination involves certain mental states, such as memory of things as they have been known as states of consciousness, B, anticipation of things as they may be known or of states of consciousness. So we're looking at there, I'd say, past and future, and a visualization of the imaginary conditions, and then the utilization of the invoked image as a form through which a new realm of realization may be contacted once the dreamer can identify himself with that which he has imagined. This area right here is something, and I'm going to have to We're gonna have to come back to this again, man. This is a lot. This is gonna need to, there's a lot in this, is what I'm saying. There's a whole lot of revelation. There's a whole lot of everything going on right here, right now, in this area, right? We're talking about these lower three worlds here, which we know are illusion, which we know are glamour, which we know is Maya, which we know is where the dweller on the threshold is in relation to the angel of the presence. Now, what we're looking at here, it's telling us that we're dreaming right now. We're creating this visualization of the imaginary conditions, and then the utilization of the invoked image as a form. And we're utilizing the invoked image, calling it form, through which a new realm of realization may be contacted. Say senses. Oh, man. Oh, I'm so thankful that we came across this book next. This was the next book that was picked out for us. All right, let's keep going. I could stay on this all. I don't need to go far. This is rendering me just dumb. In these three dream states, we have the condition of the thinker in the three planes in the three worlds. That's us down here. From the state of ignorant savagery to that of the average enlightened man. It leads on then to a much higher state of dream consciousness. And we've talked about this. Even the masters are subject to illusion, but it's such a high level at that point that it's good, right? It's attainment of something, amazing. But we are essentially, if this is where the soul is on the third level of the mental plane, we're operating in the lower three worlds on Earth, physical plane, essentially down here, in the mind, astral plane, and on the physical plane, or in the etheric body and physical. The true use of the imagination necessitates a high degree of control and of mental power, and where this is present leads eventually to what is called the state of samadhi. This is that condition wherein the adept can put the entire lower man to sleep and himself pass into that realm wherein the dreams of God himself are known, and in which knowledge of the images which the deity has created can be contacted and seen. Thus, the adept can intelligently participate in the great plan of evolution. And this level of the adept starts at the fourth initiation, as I understand, this being the fourth, and this being the fifth, which is, and here, this is where you become master of a technical master in that. Beyond this state of samadhi lies the dream state of the Nirmanakayas and of the Buddhas, and so on up the scale of hierarchical life, till that great dreamer is known, who is the one, the only Narayana, the Lord of the world himself, the Ancient of Days, our planetary logos. And this is the logoic plane, the one, which is only one here. That's it. But it is also said, just so we know, like this is the one, but it's also said that this monadic sheath is so thin that it is equal, essentially, this is known as it is. All right. The student can only arrive at a very dim understanding of the nature of these dream states because we're in it, as he studies the idea conveyed in the earlier statement to the effect that to the occultist, life on the physical plane is but a dream condition. And that's what we're saying. We're living in a dream world. We're analyzing this dream world. We're picking it apart layer by layer. We're unfolding, we're peeling back the onion layers to get to the level of our soul, who can inform us of what is real. All right, we'll read 39. We'll cover 39. It's a lot. So awesome. So awesome that we get to read this. I'm just very thankful because it's putting so many things together. Sutra 39 and its very simplicity carries with it its own powerful appeal. In it can be traced the various stages of acquirement: desire, longing, concentrated determination to possess, the negation of all that does not meet that requirement, the emptying of the hands so as to be free for new possession, then possession itself, satisfaction, peace. I mean, this is the process, right? This is the process. We have this desire, this longing, that we have, now we have tension, this concentrated determination to possess. You're getting rid of, you're dropping everything, you're getting rid of attachments. We empty our hands to be free for the new possession. So we stand, essentially empty-handed. And then, this is our process. This is the process we're actually going through here. Now, real quick, I just want to reference this back up to, okay, Sutra 39 is related to the heart center, which we know as the Buddhic plane. Down here, sorry, the Buddhic plane, which is where intuition is found, real intuition is found. But with all things pertaining to the lower desires, the peace is but temporary, and new desire awakes, and that which has been held so joyously is relinquished. Now that sounds like potentially the soul is relinquished at the fourth initiation. But now I'm just going to keep going. I'm pondering here. Only that which is the fruition of the ages, only that which is regaining of an old possession fully satisfies, That sounds like our Father in heaven, the consciousness of our Father. Let the student therefore study and ascertain whether that which is dearest to his heart is temporal, transitory, or ephemeral, or whether it is, as the great Lord has said, treasure laid up in heaven. Now, hmm. The rending process, we're just getting rid of everything at that point, right? We're studying these things. We know that this world, as much as everything, is temporal, transitory, and ephemeral. What has treasure and laid up in heaven for us is the soul. And that is in this spiritual triad. We now come to the most comprehensive sutra in the book, 40. It might be pointed out here that these 7 ways to psychic peace, as they have been called, cover the 7 methods of the 7 rays in connection with the control of the psychic nature. It is important to emphasize this. These 7 ways have a direct relation to the 4 initiations of the threshold. So there is no major initiation for any son of God who has not achieved a measure of psychic peace. Students will find it of interest to work out these 7 ways to peace in relation to one or other of the 7 rays, assigning the way to the ray wherever it seems to them appropriate. These are the rays. We'll work out the 7 ways to peace in relation to one or other of the rays, which is what we've been doing. Is there a 40th? Oh, it looks like that's the 7. Okay. So we just kind of did this there. This is a lot. I think it's best to stop for today and let this sink in. I know this is some seriously deep stuff, man. We're very lucky to be studying this material at this point. I hope you're tracking. I hope you're, reading along and we're absorbing this together. And this is going to create some serious tension, good tension for us. And all good stuff for this. These were huge. So we just did what, 36 to 39, and we'll pick up on 40 tomorrow. Okay, we'll leave it there. Sorry if I'm just literally in awe of all of this. Just awesome. Okay. I'm going to go be dumb for the rest of the day. Have a good one.